Greetings everyone, I'm Dr. Anth. For the past several videos, I've been discussing the different regions of the U.S. In the last video, I discussed the Tidewater region with a focus on Virginia. The Tidewater is one of 3 regions associated with the southern states. The other 2 are the Deep South, which will be covered in this video, and Greater Appalachia, which will be covered in the next video. The states in the Deep South are South Carolina, most of Florida, the southern 3/4 of Georgia and Alabama, Mississippi, the portion of Louisiana north of New France, the southeast portion of Arkansas, and East Texas. These states are also known as the Cotton Belt. By 1800, slavery was dying out in Yankeedom, New Netherland, and even the Tidewater states. Then it was discovered that cotton grew spectacularly well in the Deep South. The area enclosed by the white circle on this physical geography map is an area of rich, deep black soil ideal for growing cotton. Growing and processing cotton prior to mechanization was extremely labor-intensive, so it will come as no surprise that wealthy white Englishmen wanted to extract as much wealth as possible from the land and decided that growing cotton using the labor of enslaved people of West Central African ancestry was the ideal path to riches. Slavery made cotton king and the Deep South an economic powerhouse in the world. I will put a link in the description box for the book The Half Has Never Been Told by Edward E. Baptist, which goes into great detail on the intersection of slavery and cotton. This image represents the cotton production in the Deep South in 1859. Thousands of enslaved people were worked harder than any animal to produce these hundreds of thousands of bales of cotton. If they did not work fast enough to suit the overseer, they would be whipped until their back was stripped of flesh. Although slavery ended by law in 1865, white Southerners found other ways to keep the black population in a reduced, impoverished state where they were subject to the whims of the white population. I will cover this topic in a future video, not part of this series. This census map of the year 2010 shows the percent of African Americans in the Deep South counties. You can see that the highest percentages closely match that of the band associated with cotton plantations where their ancestors were enslaved. Individuals of West Central African ancestry had a major impact on the culture of the Deep South. For the purposes of this video, I will just mention a few of the regional foods. The cooks on the Deep South plantations were generally of West Central African origin who cooked what they knew. Pretty much any fried food is of West Central African origin. When fried foods are paired with greens, they become soul food. Tubers are a staple food in West Africa, so it is not a surprise that sweet potato pie is another regional favorite in the Deep South. England is the origin of another regional favorite of the Deep South, and this is sweet tea. But the origin of sweet tea is actually sort of nefarious. Beginning with the Industrial Revolution, laborers in England had to work punishingly long hours with very little to eat. They were allowed a tea break where they were given weak, very sweet tea. The water was for rehydration, factories were sweltering, and the sugar was for energy. The English imported this idea to the Deep South, where it kept the enslaved workers toiling longer in the cotton fields. Something to think about the next time you have a glass of sweet tea. Education was forbidden by law and even punished with death for enslaved people in the Deep South. After slavery ended, education was still difficult to obtain for African Americans. This is one reason why the Deep South states are at the bottom of the Human Development Index. Enforced poverty, along with limited access to education, is not a good policy if a state wants a healthy population and economy. As mentioned, the next video in this series will cover the last of the three southern regions, Greater Appalachia. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel.